Jack and Kate, who have been together since college, are seen embracing at JFK Airport. Jack is about to leave for a 12-month internship at Barclays in London. Kate, worried about their future, expresses her fear that their relationship might not survive the separation. Jack reassures her that they have a solid plan. She will attend the best law school in the country while he completes his internship. Despite this, Kate is torn, wanting to abandon their plans to prioritize their love. Jack, however, kisses her and assures her that their love is strong enough to endure the separation. Then he departs. 13 years later, Jack wakes up in a luxurious apartment after spending the night with a woman named Paula. He suggests seeing her again that night, but she declines, explaining she's visiting her parents for Christmas Eve. Jack prepares for work, and in the elevator, he encounters his neighbor, Mrs. Peterson. In the lobby, the doorman, Tony, greets him, and Jack offers quick investment advice before leaving in his Ferrari. Jack is now the president of a Fortune 500 company. During a board meeting, he discusses trading options, emphasizing the importance of focusing on institutional customers. He notices one of the board members, Alan, is distracted and asks for his thoughts. Alan admits he was thinking about his family, having promised to be home for dinner since it's Christmas Eve. Jack acknowledges his tunnel vision, but insists that everyone's attention is needed as they prepare to announce the largest merger in U.S. corporate history in the next 2 days. He urges Alan to be excited, not sorry, as their Christmas gift will be a 10-figure check. At 8:30, the meeting ends, and Jack receives a note that Kate has tried to contact him. He explains to his assistant that Kate was his college girlfriend, the one he almost married 13 years ago. His assistant, surprised that Jack was ever the marrying type, offers to call Kate for him, but Jack declines, saying he doesn't want to accidentally rekindle anything. Just then, the chairman, Peter, enters Jack's office. Jack asks him what to do if an girlfriend calls, and Peter advises him to treat them like taxes, cut them loose. Later, Jack wishes the company's security guard, Frank, a good night and walks home. On the way, he stops at a small store to buy some eggnog. Moments later, a man enters the store with a winning lottery ticket worth $238. The cashier, suspecting the ticket is fake, refuses to cash it. The man then pulls out a gun to intimidate the cashier, but Jack intervenes, offering to buy the ticket for $200 so the man can cash it elsewhere and make a quick $38. The man agrees, and they leave the store together. Outside, Jack advises the man against using guns and suggests that programs exist to help people like him. The mysterious man cryptically tells Jack that he brought this situation on himself, then leaves. Jack returns home and goes straight to bed. When he wakes up the next morning, something feels off. He finds a woman, who he soon realizes is Kate, hugging him. Suddenly, 2 children enter the room, jumping onto the bed. Jack is shocked when the little girl calls him Dad. Panicking, he hurriedly gets out of bed and rushes to leave. At the entrance, he passes Kate's parents and, noticing his Ferrari is missing, asks where it is. Kate's parents, surprised, say they didn't know he owned a Ferrari and offer him their Cadillac instead. Driving quickly to New York City, Jack is relieved to see Tony outside his apartment building. However, Tony tells him he can't enter because he's not a resident. Confused and frustrated, Jack tries to make sense of what's happening. Mrs. Peterson soon appears, and Jack tells her that Tony is acting strangely. However, Mrs. Peterson, not recognizing him, asks who he is. Jack, thinking they are playing a cruel joke, becomes angry. When they threaten to call the cops, Jack panics and drives to his office, but Frank stops him, saying he can't enter. Upset, Jack insists he is the president of the company and points to a sign listing the board members' names. To his shock, he sees Alan's name in his place. Back on the street, Jack spots the mysterious man driving his Ferrari. Furious, Jack confronts him. The man tells Jack to get into the car, hands him a bag to breathe into, and explains that people often vomit from this experience. When Jack demands an explanation, the man tells him that this is a glimpse of the life that could have been, and that Jack won't return to his real life until he figures things out. Jack, confused, asks for more details, but the man only gives him a bell, tricks him into getting out of the car, and then drives away. Baffled, Jack decides to return to Kate. In the neighborhood, he can't find the house and asks a man where Kate lives. The man excitedly calls his wife, announcing that Jack is home. Inside the man's house, Jack discovers that the man is his friend, Arnie, and sees photos of the two of them together. As they talk, Jack realizes that Kate is his wife. They walk home, and Arnie praises Jack for being lucky to have such a lovely wife and a big 4-bedroom house. When Jack enters the house, Kate hugs him but quickly becomes angry, asking where he went. He explains that he went to New York City, where he believes he actually lives, and insists that he doesn't have a family. Frustrated, Kate accuses him of making strange excuses. Jack, desperate, starts ringing the bell given to him by the mysterious man, hoping it will help. Instead, his daughter Annie comes over and takes the bell. Kate then tells him he missed their children opening Christmas presents. Jack apologizes, and Kate reminds him about the Thompson party he has been looking forward to all year. Disappointed by the cheap clothes in his wardrobe, Jack reluctantly agrees to go to the party. At the party, Evelyn Thompson greets them, and Jack mingles with people who seem to be his friends. Later, Evelyn flirts with him, but Jack remains distant. Back at home, Kate asks Jack to walk their dog, a task he reluctantly agrees to. The next morning, Jack is awakened by the sound of a crying baby. He knocks on the bathroom door, asking Kate what to do, but when she doesn't respond, he opens it. Kate informs him that it's his turn to get the children ready for school and daycare. Jack, clueless about changing diapers, struggles until Annie steps in to help. She then tells him she doesn't believe he is her real dad, and Jack reluctantly agrees, assuring her that her real dad will be back soon. Annie examines his face and comments that the aliens in the mothership did a good job making him look like her dad. She asks if he can make chocolate milk, which Jack attempts, and Annie welcomes him to Earth. Later, Annie shows Jack where to drop off her brother Josh for daycare, and then he takes her to school. Before leaving, Jack asks where he works, and Annie tells him he sells tires at Big Ed's. Jack arrives at Big Ed's, owned by his father-in-law, and walks into the shop, bewildered. He asks an employee where his office is, and the equally confused employee points it out. In the office, Jack sees photos on the wall and realizes that the Jack whose life he is living never boarded the plane to London. That night, Jack watches TV as the news reports on the largest merger in U.S. corporate history. Enraged, Jack yells at the TV, insisting that it's his deal and that he is the real architect of it. Suddenly, Kate enters the room, turns off the TV, and happily tells Jack that the kids are asleep. She jumps into bed and starts kissing Jack. Jack interrupts her, complimenting her on how beautiful she has become. She appreciates the compliment and goes to put on something nice for him, but when she returns, Jack pretends to be asleep. The next day, while out shopping, Jack tries on a suit that Kate compliments him on, but when she sees the $2,400 price tag, she says he's out of his mind. Jack insists on buying it, leading to an argument. Eventually, Jack gives in and refrains from purchasing the suit. On the way home, Jack apologizes to Kate and they talk. Jack learns that their life together includes an unexpected baby, saving Ed from a heart attack, Jack starting to work for Ed, and then moving into their house. The following day, Jack goes bowling with his friends. Although he's supposed to be great at it, he ends up disappointing them by failing miserably. When Jack returns home, he notices that Kate has taken one of his chocolate cakes, which he had been saving. The two playfully chase each other around the house and eventually share a kiss on the staircase. However, Jack fails to sweep her off her feet, and she walks away. That night, Jack watches an old tape of one of Kate's birthday parties. In the video, he surprises her by singing a song with the help of his friends, which she absolutely loves. The next morning, Jack wakes up and goes to prepare a bottle for Josh, their baby. When he returns, Kate presents him with an anniversary gift, eager for him to open it immediately. Jack is thrilled to find that she has bought him a suit. However, when Kate eagerly awaits her gift, it becomes evident that Jack has forgotten their anniversary. Saddened, Kate tries to hide her disappointment, and Jack promises to make it up to her. While preparing chocolate milk later, Annie, their daughter, suggests to Jack that he should have been more prepared, noting that her dad always does something special for her mom on their anniversary. Jack asks if her dad ever took Kate to the city, and Annie enthusiastically agrees it's a great idea. We then see Jack and Kate in New York, dining at a fine restaurant. Jack offers to dance with her, though Kate hesitates, thinking the venue isn't suited for dancing. Undeterred, Jack insists, and the pianist happily plays for them. As they dance, people around them seem to envy Kate. Later, Jack tries to explain his feelings to Kate, confessing that he feels like he's living someone else's life. He tells her that he used to walk around with the Wall Street Journal in hand, feeling confident and in control, but now he feels like he has nothing figured out. Kate admits that she feels similarly and asks Jack what he's certain about. Jack replies that the only thing he's sure of is that there's no place he'd rather be than with her. That night, they check into a luxurious hotel where Jack passionately expresses how much he still loves her after all these years. In the following days, Jack begins to enjoy spending time with Annie and Josh. Kate gives him a passionate kiss goodbye as he leaves for work, and he starts to take pleasure in selling tires. One day, Peter stops by the shop with a flat tire, and Jack strikes up a conversation with him. Jack impresses Peter by explaining in intricate detail how the big merger could have been valued at $130 billion instead of $122 billion, potentially making them much more money. Impressed, Peter hands Jack the address where he wants the car delivered and asks Jack to deliver it himself. The next morning, Jack arrives at the company in a fancy car, dressed in a suit, and meets with Peter and Alan in his old office. They converse, and after a while, Jack stands up and acknowledges that his $2 million tire business is nothing compared to their multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 company. However, he asserts that people are the same everywhere, and he knows people well. Jack then lists personal qualities and insights about Peter and Alan, convincing Peter that they should hire him for his competence. Peter instructs Alan to show Jack around, and once they are alone, Alan subtly warns Jack not to interfere in their affairs. Jack laughs, noting that Alan is acting more assertively, which pleases him, and then leaves, leaving Alan puzzled. Next, we see Jack bringing a cake to a luxurious apartment, explaining that it's a perk of the executive position he's been offered. Kate acknowledges that it's nice, but reminds him that they moved out of the city for their children's sake. Jack suggests they could finally live the life they've always wanted, but Kate points out that she would have to find a new job and the children would have to leave their friends. Jack proposes commuting, but Kate argues that he would hardly see the kids due to the long hours in traffic. Back at home, Jack finds his old flight ticket to London. Kate notices it and confesses that she had been afraid she would never see him again when he boarded that plane. She was thrilled when he returned the very next day. She tells him that she loves him and is willing to move the entire family to New York City if that's what he needs, because she believes their love is more important than where they live. She leaves, and Jack reflects on what she said. The next day, Kate wakes up to find Jack playing with Annie in the snow. Annie tells Jack that she knew her dad would come back, and they hug. That evening, Jack goes to a nearby store where he encounters the mysterious man from earlier, now working as a cashier. The man comments that Jack seems to have figured things out. Jack angrily tells the man that he won't allow him to disrupt his life again, insisting that he can't just come in and out of people's lives and mess things up. The man responds that a glimpse is, by definition, temporary. Jack pays, then says he's going home to his kids. Back home, Jack checks on Josh and then on Annie, who briefly wakes up and asks if it's morning. Jack reassures her that it's not and tells her to go back to sleep, whispering that he's going back to the mothership. He then enters the bedroom and talks to Kate, asking her to promise that she will remember him as he is right now, because otherwise it will feel like it never happened, which he couldn't bear. She promises and tells him to go to bed, but Jack says he has one more thing to do. He takes their dog for a walk, letting it run free for a bit. Back at home, Jack tries to stay awake to savor every last second, but eventually he succumbs to sleep. He wakes up in his old apartment, and as he's about to leave, Paula, his neighbor, wishes him a Merry Christmas. Jack, confused, says it can't be Christmas and hurriedly leaves. He drives to the house he saw in the glimpse and knocks on the door. A man he doesn't know answers, and Jack asks if Kate lives there, but the man tells him no. As Jack drives away, his assistant calls, reminding him that he's late for a meeting. Jack promises to be there in 20 minutes. In his office, Alan notices that Jack isn't wearing a suit and asks if he's okay. Alan then quickly shifts to explaining that there's a crisis and the merger deal is on the verge of falling through. Jack, seemingly having lost his zest for life, agrees to speak with the involved parties to save the merger, acknowledging that this is his real life. In his limousine, Jack calls someone to obtain Kate's real address. Jack arrives at the address and enters the place where he sees people moving out. He spots Kate, who explains that she's moving to Paris because her law firm has an office there. Jack asks if she's married, and she says no. She hands him a box of his old belongings, explaining that was the reason she contacted him. Kate's assistant mentions she has a flight booked for 7 o'clock, which Jack overhears. As Kate gets busy with other tasks, Jack leaves. In his limousine, Jack tells his chauffeur to drive him home instead of to the business meeting. He sifts through his old belongings, lost in thought, and suddenly finds photos of him and Kate together. Realizing something, he looks at his watch and rushes to the airport, driving fast. At the airport, he searches frantically for Kate and finally spots her, calling out her name. When she sees him, Jack begins explaining how they have a house in Jersey, 2 lovely kids, and a deep love for each other. He tells her that it might have all been a dream, but nothing has ever felt more real, and if she gets on that plane, it will all disappear forever. He begs her not to leave for Paris, at least not tonight, and asks her to talk things over with him over a cup of coffee, which she agrees to. In the final scene, the two are seen talking and enjoying each other's company at the airport cafe.